I just realized, I don't think my mic is set up properly. So I know. Give me a second. Hold on. This is a great way to start
I mean, it
start
sounds
the show.
good.
Does
Yeah.
it? Okay,
You
cool.
just kick
We're
it
good.
to us about something, and then,
Okay.
while we're talking, you can play with your mic.
We're good. Okay. Hey guys, how's it going? Josh, how was your vacation?
Good, relaxing. Myrtle Beach, just kind of hung out at the beach. Didn't really do much swimming. Okay, I did zero swimming. I got about ankle deep into the water of the beach, and I was like, I'm good. Nah, I'm just gonna hang out
I do
here,
the
read a
same.
book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mostly hung out on the balcony because it was facing the beach. So I'm like, this is the same as being out there, only no direct sunlight. So that's nice.
What was the book?
I am currently reading book 4 of Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archive, and each one of these books is freaking massive. Rhythm of War is the book I'm on, so trying to get through that thing. I got about halfway through it during vacation, so
Nice.
No, I like your beach plan. Like, you go to the beach, but you don't really go near the sand or direct sunlight or the water. Like, I like that. That's
yeah. Liz is bragging in the comments that she finished 4.5 books. They were
hold on.
not
How do you-
as
I was
big
gonna say,
as
how do
my
you finish-
book. I'm just saying.
How do you finish 4.5 books? That's insane.
She was much more diligent about reading on this vacation. I found myself, I think I might have talked about it on this podcast before, but I have this weird obsession about this old sitcom called Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place.
I love that show. It's one of my favorites. Yeah.
And a friend of mine put it onto the Plex server because we can't find it digitally anywhere right now. And I watched about 2 seasons of that show on
Nice.
vacation. And we're all sharing a condo. So it was like in the morning I'd wake up, I'd turn it on, and like my stepbrother would come out and he'd be like, oh, okay, again, cool. Yeah, so
Yeah. That was
my obsession.
I don't know if that was Ryan Reynolds' official start, but
He had some other stuff before that, but this was like an ongoing role.
yeah.
And yeah, it's where I actually learned about, like, first time I ever seen him in it. So then when he did Van Wilder and that kind of stuff, I was like,
Yeah.
that's not my kind of comedy, but this is the guy that I watched, 4 seasons of, and this other sitcom I really liked. So I gave him a pass for those. And then Liz is always confused why I like Ryan Reynolds, because like she thinks of him as Van Wilder. It's like, no, I think of him as Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, and like that kind of comedy style.
Yeah. I'm with you. That's the original that I think of. And then he sort of went off and just did a whole bunch of other stuff. And now he's
Now he's
Deadpool. Yeah, he's just Deadpool. Yeah. Kev, what's going on?
I can't hold a candle to any of your updates, either of your updates. So let's just pass again on me. Let's just move.
Okay. Yeah, I was obviously neither Josh or I were here last week. I was in Iceland with the fam, which was pretty crazy. Stayed up and watched the Cincy game though. We were debating like, will you or won't you? The whole like jet lag thing just totally screwed with me, and it was still screwing with me coming back until pretty much this morning. But like the first day we got there, I probably slept in like 20-minute increments on the plane. It was like a 6.5-hour flight. And then we landed at like 6:30 in the morning. So we were like, well, if you're going to beat jet lag, you got to stay up all day. And so I basically made it until like 6:30 at night. And then I slept for 12 hours straight. But it just, yeah. And I posted a picture during the Cincy game at midnight, and it looked like daytime because they just have 24-hour sun right now, which is kind of crazy.
That's really trippy.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we had like blackout curtains for our room. They tell you like wear like sleep masks and stuff. And I don't think any of us actually had to use the sleep mask because we had like the blackout curtains. But it is weird. Like your body's like, it's time to go to bed, but you look outside and you're like, no, it's not, and it messes with you. So,
were things open later than usual? No.
Well, okay. So there's a lot of like waterfalls and like natural attractions that, as long as it's light out, you just go up to them. It's not a big deal.
Right.
But they are, they're known for actually having just shorter hours overall. One of the cool things was like all of the grocery stores has like like posted really big, had their name on them, and then right beneath it has their hours, like massive. So it would be like 10 to 20. And so you're like, oh, okay, cool. You're open from 10 until what? 10 or 8. Yeah, I can't do math. But yeah, no, like stores and stuff weren't open any later. And there were a lot of things that like just you'd be like, oh, we'll just go here. And it's like, nope, they already closed at like 4. And you're like, all right, well, yeah, whatever. But it was awesome. Kev, you would enjoy it. Downtown Reykjavik, which is their capital, it feels like a European Asheville kind of thing. Like lots of really small cafes and shops, and it's very artsy, but really easily walkable. We went all over the place. Yeah, it was really, really cool. I highly recommend it for anybody. The pictures and videos will never do it justice. It's like anything where you're like, oh, I'll get a picture of that. And then it's like, no, it's too fine.
I noticed a little bit of that. We went to Wyoming a couple years ago, and yeah, you like stand in the vastness of the plains and you're like, man, this is like powerful. It feels like amazing. And then you put a frame around it and you're like, oh, it's just like a piece strip of land with sky. That's not, yeah. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, we did a whale and puffin tour. My wife has become obsessed with puffins, and the cool thing was, well, first of all, we were in like this little boat. It was like a really like almost like a raft, and they were like, oh, everybody just sort of fill in, and I was the last one to get on the boat, and the only free spot was right up front. And these boats, they don't have like seatbelts. You would sit in the seat, and the seat in front of you had handlebars on the side of it, and you would just hold on because they would go really fast. I had nothing, like they had like a handlebar like fastened to the front of the boat. So I'm like holding on to this thing. No joke. There were multiple moments where my entire body was in the air because we had hit a wave and just like shot through it. But while we were out there, Kev, I don't know if you watched the video, there was a solid 10 to 15 minutes. There was a pod of dolphins that found us and like just wanted to play. So like literally because I was at the front of the boat, I just like held the camera out over the side and you just see them swimming underneath, and then they would like jump up and out, and it was nuts. So yeah.
Yeah. The photos and videos looked amazing. Yeah. It looked like an awesome trip. That's cool. Happy that you had a good time.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll ever go back. I think it's something that's worth seeing, but like now there's like other stuff to see and do. And it was cool. They like we drove all over the place, and we probably passed 4 or 5 like local soccer clubs. Like they all had their own like indoor facilities and massive logos, and they were actually in the process of basically their version of the US Open Cup to like qualify for Euros. So you had all of these teams traveling, and I mean, all the teams are like 15 minutes away because there's nothing else there. And I tried to explain that to my wife. I was like, here we have to go travel to play Monterey Bay, which is like you get on a plane and fly across the country. Because of course, while we were there, the news broke about Messi going to Miami as well. And she's like, do you think he'll do great? And I said, well, one of the big things that when these superstars come over, they have to deal with is all of this travel and all of like the different climates and things that they just don't experience in Europe. And it typically has more of a toll on them than you would think. So yeah, that was cool. But
did you like, I can't remember, did you like touch glaciers? And
no, so we stayed pretty much on the western side of the country, the southwestern side of the country. So at that point, we could see a few snow-capped mountains, and we climbed one mountain to see the volcano, and there wasn't any snow up there, although it was cold. If we had gone further east, like I have a buddy at work who they have a section of Iceland called the Ring Road that basically just goes around the entire exterior of the country. He'll see icebergs and stuff. I did see, as we were flying over Greenland, which is like solid ice, it was nothing but just like mountains and icebergs floating, and you were able to see them pretty clearly from the plane. So that was cool. But they had a museum where they actually built an ice cave in the museum. Like it's just a giant cooler, and they simulated different ice caves that they have. So we walked through there and checked that out. We also couldn't see the Northern Lights, which is like the other big thing to do because it's 24 hours of sunlight.
Yeah.
So we missed that. But yeah, lots of fun. Highly recommend. The people were great. Food was great. I love driving with kilometers now and roundabouts, like so much better than like miles and straightaways. And
why is kilometers better?
the way that they sort of do the road signs were so much better in terms of understanding what's going on. Like here, you'll have a sign where it's like you're doing 45, and then it's like speed limit up ahead is 35, and then you see like nothing. And there it's like 90, and then like, you know, a little bit further it'll say 70, and then a little bit further it'll say 50, and like you just sort of like work your, there's no guessing like, well, wait, when does it start? When does it not start? And you know how we'll have the road signs where if you're supposed to be doing say 45, you'll have a like an actual digital sign that tells you your speed. So it'll just be like you're doing 65 or you're doing 40. That's all. It just tells you the speed. There, it'll tell you your speed. But if you're going the right speed, they take the number away and just put a smiley face, like a green smiley face.
I've heard about that actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually say like, and they did. Yeah, did you see a frowny face ever?
Yes, there
Okay,
was some that didn't have the frowny face, but there were yeah.
There's a whole study that like that actually makes people slow down more than showing their speed, because you see your speed and it's almost kind of like a game to you. You're like,
Yes.
Oh, I'm gonna make that go up higher. Like, but you see a frowny face, like, oh, I'm sorry.
I said to my wife, like, I'd be approaching the sign, and I'm like, no, I want the smiley face. Like, I'm gonna slow down enough so I get the smiley face. Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. But anyway, yeah, stayed up and watched the Cincy game. Actually, before we do that, Josh, crack the drink.
Oh yeah,
we did have a victory. We had a loss and we had a victory. We're gonna talk about the loss first, but let's get that drink going because we might need it through the Cincy game. Hounds lost 3-1 to Cincy. The magical Open Cup run is over. Lots to talk about in this one. I don't know how much we want to, reopen that wound. I think the big discussion was the goal. I think we all knew going into this game that just like the other two games, if the Hounds were going to win this, it wasn't going to be a back and forth battle. We just can't compete at that level with those types of players. And so the first goal was always going to be the biggest one. And essentially we held on for quite a while. We had a few chances. They took out Dikwa. We're still waiting to hear back just how long of an injury he's going to be out for. And so at that point, it's like, okay, you're deflated, but it's like, can we hold on? Can we do something? And then basically Cincy's first goal was a double offsides where, they basically played the ball to one player who was offside, who then touched it to another player who was offside, who then scored. And the refs let it stand. Rumor has it afterwards, when the Hounds were protesting it, one of the main ref said to the sideline ref, or no, I'm sorry, the other way around. The sideline ref said to the main ref, "Did the first guy touch the ball? Because if he did, it's offsides. If he didn't, it's not offsides." And the center judge said, "No, he did not touch the ball." So then they said it was no offsides. And this was feedback from one of the players who relayed this to a particular member of the Steel Army.
Even that's wrong, right? I mean, because the guy who eventually receives the ball,
they're both offsides.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have mattered either way who touched the ball, when touched the ball. It was the fact that they were both offside when either one of them touched the ball. So yeah, it was a BS, goal. But at the same time, it is what it is. I don't know. I'm having a hard time feeling deflated about this game. Like this is the farthest we've ever been in the Open Cup, and it is, well, since what? I think it was 2001 or 2002 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like this was as expected. Like this is what people would have expected against Columbus, but we'll always have Columbus.
Yeah.
Put it on a shirt.
Yeah. Steve just commented in chat that apparently for Dikwa, it's a clavicle fracture and apparently surgery. So we'll see.
Yeah, I've heard everything up to like 4 weeks of recovery to like, I don't know. Like I imagine 4 weeks of recovery before he's even allowed to practice with the team. And then after that, we'll see how his fitness is and what Lily thinks. But yeah, so we probably won't see Dikwa for at least a month.
Yeah. I think my bigger frustration with the game, and I should be old and wise enough to just accept this, but social media is a total crap show. And there was a certain level of entitlement amongst the Cincy fans that I had completely forgotten about. It's always been there. It's been there since they were in the USL. The players and the fans of just, we deserve to win. We deserve to be here at all costs. And, sensible guys who are on like the Cincy Soccer Talk that we used to like do a lot of stuff with, their argument as to why they should have won was because Biasi tackled a player and that should have been a straight red. And it's like in every other league in the world, that is a yellow. Like it's called a professional yellow. I don't like it, but that's what the rule is.
I love it. When he did it, I was upset that Biasi, he seemed to like, I love Biasi. Do not read into this. But he seemed to almost cower a little bit when the Cincy captain came after him, a little angry. Like, no, freaking stand up. Like, yeah, I know what I did, and I did it on purpose. And you're not gonna intimidate me, 5'0" person. Like, yeah, no. It's so I loved it. I thought it was great.
And it's like, if you want to go that route, like literally took out two of our best players in this game. Like, I remember us talking before about the Open Cup and how always worried about, the big players getting taken down by players who are not as experienced in the lower leagues. And like you're worried about injuries and how, MLS clubs have to kind of keep an eye out for that. Literally, it was the other way around for this one. Since he took out two of our players, Robbie got taken out. And when he got taken out, like it was a situation where I'm thinking, oh, hopefully it's just a little injury. But we see in the next game that he comes in for like 8 minutes and gets taken out again. So like that's probably not a good sign.
Yeah. 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 And, again, it's when that's your argument, it's like, oh, he like tackled the guy. And it's like, yeah, you also had two players that were offsides. And then the other argument came back was like, well, we have these players and you just can't compete with them. That's the point. You're in MLS. Like, yes, it's just accept that you were supposed to win this game and be gracious about it. But instead it's, they just want to stomp a lower league team and whatever. I don't care. I'm over it. I'm past it. The one positive was that Tola did get his first goal of the season.
Yes. Now he's rolling, baby.
He followed it up with a second this week. So fingers crossed that, the good times just keep on rolling.
I think the key with him is he just don't try not to shoot. Just dribble it in and then you're good, right? Like, so he figured it out. We're good. Yeah. My take on the whole Cincy game. I don't know. Mike, I get the sense that you probably have to, because you manage like the Mongols Twitter account, like you're forced to almost interact with the Cincy fan base probably more than I am, because I don't need to do that. And even just how the Cincy players kind of interacted and throughout the game, I have maybe a slightly different take than you. In a way, I kind of wouldn't have it any other way. Like, I don't know. Like this I don't think this is the pure 100% motivation about how the Cincy players acted and how the Cincy fan base kind of, takes this game. But on a certain level, you react and act this way against teams and clubs who maybe, not that they view us as a threat, but as like a team that's not like, a high school team playing a bunch of 5-year-olds don't do this, right? Like a high school team playing a good middle school team might do this, right? Because they're a good middle school team or whatever. And like, so on some level, it's, don't treat us any other way, because we're good. We back ourselves. We believe in our club. We believe in our players, and we want to go to toe to toe with you. We understand the context of this tournament. We understand we're in the USL. We understand you're in the MLS. We understand the context of this game. But the point of it is we want to be accepted on this field as equals, and so treat us as equals and treat us with like the same hatred and vitriol as you would with any other MLS team. So I'm like, yeah, fine, whatever. I'm not like, there's no logic. Like, we're not going to become friends with Cincy fans, or at least the core narrative of a lot of this stuff. And that's, I don't know, to me, that's fine.
I think part of my I don't know what the word is, but even when we come out, their second goal was amazing. Like literally the corner kick, and there was no volley. The guy literally just smacks it out of the air, the top corner. And so even when you're like, look, that goal was fantastic. Can we just agree that your guys were offsides? And they're like, shut up, go home, you suck. And it's like,
yeah,
okay,
but wait, when you said
cool.
that was like Twitter comments, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they're just
like,
winding you up. Like,
I know, but I'm like, these are people that are sensible. I will dare call them soccer journalists. And I just have, I think my biggest issue is me having more respect for certain people and their approach and them disappointing me. I think that's what it is. And that's why I was just like, I'm done. I'm over.
We don't have to think about Cincy for another year.
I hope they fall into the river. But the good news was that seeing that Birmingham also lost in the Open Cup and that we beat more MLS teams, the Hounds are technically the team that made it through the Open Cup the longest from the USL, and therefore we get $25,000 as sort of prize money. So who knows how that'll be spent, but kudos to the team for getting that. That's something they haven't gotten previous years. So
And
good stuff.
This has a huge effect, not the 25K, but like the run they went on.
Yeah.
The win in Columbus. We talked about like money wise, I'm not sure how much they actually made from that Columbus game because there were so many 25K for hosting fees, and then you have to pay a percentage on top of your sales. So like they probably didn't make a whole bunch of money from the Columbus game, but like between the 25K here, that little bit of money they made there, and then more importantly though, like just the recognition around the city, like the hype around the team, just the motivation for the club itself, for the players, for going this deep of a run. This is going to be a huge deal. Like this game or the Open Cup was a big deal for this club this year, and that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I know. I just want to second that really quickly. I mean, I have very little negative feeling about the whole Open Cup experience. It's only positive. I mean, to have the memories we had in Columbus, to have the memories we had against New England, this team outperformed. I don't want to just say gold star because you got this far. Because once again, we're in every competition to win it, and we don't want to try to pretend like we're not upset. Of course we are, but I mean the players played really well. That's the other thing too. It's not like we went into Cincy and played horribly and lost 5-0. I thought they played really well. They get a goal. It's not a shutout, and I thought it was a really good performance against hard lines that probably it shouldn't have gone against us in the way it did. So no, I mean the players did incredible, and it was a good Open Cup run.
Agreed. So we follow up that game with the Battery coming to town, number one team in the East. This was sort of a top two showdown. I think some people were concerned that after losing, there might be a little bit of a letdown, but that was not the case at all. It was another sold out crowd. The Hounds get the fastest goal in Hounds history. It was the fastest goal in the USL this season. And of all people, it was Junior Etu who put it away. If we said the Hounds are going to score the fastest goal in the USL this season, you wouldn't say that it was Junior Etu that you thought it was going to score it. I mean, you would put money on Decoy or Kizza or maybe Griffin or Mertz. But yeah, Kev, what were your thoughts? You gave a little fist bump there. I don't know if you saw the interview that he did with Steve afterwards.
Yeah, I did.
Dude was full passion. It was good.
No,
stuff.
I mean it's just the goal was great. I mean, I'll linger on the goal for a second. I counted when that ball goes in, we have 5 players in the box.
Yeah.
That's we have 10 outfield players if you exclude Jamali White. And half of them were in the box when Kenny cuts that back. So. Yeah, no, I mean that's how you score goals, especially in the absence of your, star striker of the season. You intelligently commit men forward and try to flood the box with numbers and create chances where you can. And so in that sense, it doesn't particularly surprise me that it was that too, because we committed people and some, the ball's going to find someone. It happened to find Etu. So I think it's a better finish than what it looks.
Mhm.
To kind of open your hips up and kind of hit it like, the ball's coming in from his right, to hit it with his left foot into the left side of the net. That's not easy. And, it's very easy to kind of overshoot that and put it wide. So it was a good finish. And I thought it was just a good performance. I mean, I think we get pushed over the top by being at home and being so dominant at Highmark this season. But Charleston are a very good team,
Yeah.
and a 2-0 scoreline, scoring a goal in 22 seconds and showing me, his second goal. It was a very, very good performance. Huge win, not only for morale to bounce back after Cincy in the way that we lost that game and the way that we went out of the cup, but to put us up, first in the East, continue the unbeaten Highmark run, and just to kind of show our dominance in the absence of Dequa. It was huge. It was a big game.
This, like, speaking of the absence, Dequa, like, this is what was worrying me going into this game, thinking about Dequa not going to be there, worried about Mertz not being able to play, and having trust in the other players, basically, like, just like kind of like players that don't always start, and wondering if they could get it done. And this was a choppy game. I will say that. Like, I never felt like the first half was pretty good, but like the second half, I kind of felt like the game never really settled, and it definitely felt scary there for a while. And I am still a little bit worried because we're also not going to have Jamali Waits going forward for a little while because of international duties. So it is going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. But I'm a lot more confident in this team, even without those players, after this performance.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it was exactly what I expected of sort of the number one team at the East at that time, coming into Highmark. They weren't just going to roll over, especially after a goal, 22 seconds in. That was kind of the case. Lily said afterwards that, like, you can't even put that in the bank. Like, that happened so early. Like, you can't rely on that for anything. That's nothing. And so you really have to go out.
I mean, it's a goal.
It is a goal, but like, you're not going to then bunker from the 22-second mark
not,
on.
yeah.
You've got to play, and if anything, the battery are going to come at it harder to try to get that one back. So, yeah.
I'd say that's an advantage for us, though. I mean, it exposes them a little bit. I don't know. I get what Bob's saying.
The way,
and all that
the
stuff,
way
but
that we play, for sure, you want to open them up, you want to stretch the field a little bit, and that's, Tola's chance came from just sort of slip him in behind, and he got a nice little run on the ball. So, yeah,
No,
agreed.
I thought the goals. I mean, like, so Etsu's goal, you could make it a candidate for one of the best team goals we scored all season. The way we work it, the way how Kiza drops and exchanges kind of with Kenny, and the movement off the ball, and just the kind of running towards it was a really, really, really good team goal.
Mhm.
And showing me's goal, yeah. I mean, I think if you put yourself in the position to score what looks like simple goals, I think that's huge, because that means you're kind of systematizing your build-up play, where players know where they need to be in certain situations, and the player on the ball knows where his teammates are, and kind of it makes it look simple. So even though in the end it's showing me running off the shoulder of their last defender and a well-timed through ball, I think that's the product of a lot of kind of, knowing each other and working on kind of build up play. And yeah, in the end it looks simple, but I mean, those are the goals that kind of you have to put in the most effort on the training ground to kind of get to that point where you can score what looks to be simple goals.
Yeah. In the sort of final thoughts, after the game, I tweeted out, I originally had written down, tactically clinical, but then I flipped it and said clinically tactical, because I feel like that's what this team is now. You sort of look back at all the highlights, and everybody knows where they're supposed to be. Everyone's pulling for each other. They're sort of dropping in and out of formations and movement, and just everybody sort of seems to know what they're supposed to do, to the point that, there was a moment, even just a few weeks ago, where we're like, well, Deke was just going to score all of our goals. Is that okay? Like, that's probably okay if he's just going to keep doing it. And then you lose him and you still win 2-0 against the best team in the East. So
Yeah, it's not easy to do.
no. And so, yeah, it's a
Mike, I
sign
don't
of-
know the difference between tactically clinical and clinically tactical.
So if you're, let's see now, should we break this down? Tactically clinical, I think, means more that you are just like uber clinical. Like you sort of, you pick your spots and you really go at those spots. Whereas if you're clinically tactical, it means you're like super focused on tactics and getting the tactics right. So I think it's
Okay.
more the latter than the first. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. Humor me. Just go with it. It's fine. Yeah. Another packed house. Josh, what was it just seems like every week we're just selling out.
Yeah, I mean, another great atmosphere, packed house. It's I don't know, just enjoy this moment, guys. Like especially everyone going to the games. Like this is great, and just ride this high. Summer of Hounds is working out far better than I ever expected. Obviously, it helps that we're on this huge winning streak, especially in league play. But like, even winning, I don't think that's really why it's packed house. Like, I feel like there's a lot of work. Like, it helps a lot, but there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes right now with the front office and like what they're being able to pull off. And they had a blanket giveaway for this game, and holy crap, I never thought it would be that big of a deal for people, but like they only had 500 blankets, and the line to get in before the gates opened was huge. Like, I never seen people line up to get in like before the gates open. People cared about getting this blanket.
Wow.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm a little bit worried now for the bobblehead, the ammo bobblehead, and the
There's
stadium replica.
The stadium replica. Yeah.
Because I'm definitely gonna need both those, and that means I'm gonna have to I'm gonna cut tailgate short. Maybe we
you might
thunderstruck in line. Like,
call your buddy Jeff and just be like, "Can you set a few aside for me?"
No, it's not happening. It's not happening. So, like, I got a feeling like maybe Steel Army does Thunderstruck while waiting in line for the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. But yeah, those marketing tactics and that kind of stuff, and like the giveaways, not the giveaways, but the things they're doing are just hitting right, and it's great to see. It's kind of like finally we're seeing it kind of go the Hounds' way.
I mean, I would guess average attendance for the season so far, mid 5,000s. I don't know.
Well, I mean, technically the stadium holds 5,000.
There's like
So
there you go.
5,000 seats.
I just feel like I
they
keep
do
seeing
standing room stuff.
6,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
6,000 was the Columbus game.
And that's
Yeah.
the highest we've ever had. That's the biggest
Right.
attendance we've ever had. So I would say, because a couple games at the beginning of the season, I got a feeling the games at the end of the season, because of how cold it's going to be, it's going to knock our numbers down. But still, like,
I was thinking that early season, and that wasn't the case. So, I mean, if the Hounds go on a run, you never know, man.
Steve pointed out that only the home opener was less than 5K this year so far. So it's looking good. It's looking good.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I told my wife just the other day as we were sort of walking around, I think the days of just assuming like, the Hounds are playing, we can just like roll up and go to a gate, like that, those days might slowly be fading away to where it's like, you kind of have to make sure you get your tickets a few weeks in advance and know what you're doing, or get season tickets. And
we're already seeing that for the parking lot, because the parking lot that Tuffy owns, they're doing pre-sales for those now. So like when you buy your ticket, you can buy parking. And this is the first year we've ever seen, like, you roll up to the parking lot, and if you didn't prepay for parking, they're not letting you in because they've sold all the spots. So it's just like crazy. You're like, oh crap, I have to like plan ahead for parking now and do all this other stuff. So it's definitely a different ball game now, and it's exciting to see. I would suggest taking pictures of the stadium while you're in there right now, because it's not going to look the same next year. I can't imagine they don't expand the stadium over the off season.
I think the bigger question is to what extent do they expand the stadium next year? Because if you're constantly selling out 5 to 6, I think we had this conversation in our Slack a little bit where, and this is really getting into the weeds, but the USL Super League announced the first sort of slate of women's teams that are going to be joining the Super League, and they start play in fall of 2024, so next fall. And the Hounds have been rather coy about whether or not they're going to have a women's team or not. I know that Jeff has talked about it a little. President Jeff Garner has talked about it a little bit, and then hasn't really committed to anything. And on social media, when the news came out, it was kind of coy of like, well, we'll wait and see kind of thing. And my thought was, if you have a women's team that starts playing in the fall of 2024, and women play fall to spring, and then guys play spring to fall, if you're going to do any real sort of like major renovation of the stadium, you have no downtime to do that if you have games going all the time. So your time to do that is this off season. So the question is, do you just tack on, 1,000 more seats in the corner or whatever it may be, or do you sort of reassess and say, okay, we know we might want to do this women's thing. We have ultimate frisbee that we're also doing. We have rugby that's coming. We have all of these things. Do we take this as an opportunity to do like major reno and really put in 3-4 more thousand seats somehow while we don't have anything going on? And that gears us up for the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. Like on one hand, I get what you're coming from there. I would also just be worried about if you do that too much, then you kind of lose the atmosphere of the stadium, because then you have a stadium that's too big for what you're doing. But it's also really good to have that big of a stadium for other events that require it, or even concerts, other type of venues. But also Tuffy owns a construction company. What I mean? Like things we think are going to take forever for construction, like he's confident in himself.
Drop everything for a week everywhere else and just put everybody at the stadium and knock it out. Yeah,
legit. There's been talks where he's like, yeah, I can get that done in 2 weeks, and like that's a lot of construction to get done in 2 weeks. Like, yeah, it's fine, I'll get it done. So like I don't know, man. Like we could totally see huge changes pretty fast.
The other concern in the past has been like, well, once preseason starts, the guys got to be on the field. You have Montour now. Like you can do all your preseason there. They could do this all spring. So
true.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to sort of see the approach that they take to expand capacity. But I'm with you, Josh. They have to this offseason. Like there's
have to use a strong word, but it's definitely a thing that's already was on their radar that they already talked about doing. Like it was actually, I think, possibility that they did it this offseason, but they just weren't able to. So it's like if they're already thinking for this offseason, there's no doubt in my mind that it's on the docket right away for this coming offseason.
But like how much money do you think they're actually, I don't want to say turning away. I don't feel like they're turning anybody away right now, but when you're selling out every game, there's got to be tickets that you could sell that you're not selling, either because people assume that it's a sellout so they don't go, or whatever it may be, and that's all lost revenue. So yeah. Anything else on this game, guys, before we get into, there's a bunch of other news around the league and things, and I want to talk about standings and all of that.
We didn't really talk too much about it, but Mertz is a scary factor for me right now with his injury and not knowing too much about how bad it is, or if we should expect him to miss the next game, maybe just because the fact that he came in and then went right back out.
Yeah, he was on. It was like 8 minutes. He was in and out. Yeah, that's no good.
Do we have any knowledge around what type of injury it might be, or?
No, Steve had mentioned in the Slack that he wasn't injured in the Cincy game. Maybe
no, he was. He got his injury initially came from practice on a Monday before the Cincy game.
Yeah.
But like he still was able to come in, and it looked like it would be okay. Then obviously he wasn't, so he got taken out. So technically, Cincy didn't injure Mertz during the game, but I'm still gonna blame them because it's Cincy.
Yeah, he might as well. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, let's create drama on the show, because why not? Little hot take, maybe. I may make an argument that Mertz has maybe underperformed this season. I think I expected more output from him so far. I think he's looked busy and like had moments during play where he's done some great things. I think he has that goal early on in the season where it's like a one touch, like great finish or whatever. Or no, he brings it down from like a long crossfield pass from Ordonez, and it's a good finish. I mean,
he fed the ball through to Dikwa for the Columbus goal.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you, Kevin. Okay. I think he's actually looked really good this season. I think there's a lot of the what are they calling it? The hockey assist, where it's like the pass of the pass. Yeah. I feel like he is doing a lot of that type of stuff, and that might not be coming through on the stats, but it's definitely his presence is felt on the field.
I also feel like this is a situation where I think coming into this season, we were like, okay, like Mertz has to be the guy. And I think that the supporting cast around him is so elevated that he doesn't have to put the whole team on his shoulders for us to be doing well. There's enough other people that there's still times when he's taking set pieces that you're like, okay, good. Like Mertz is on the set piece, or, he's running into the corner and keeping balls in. And I think it's just I think we just need to change our expectation based on the way the rest of the team is around them at this point.
See, but I can flip that on its head and say, okay, Mertz in a good team should, if anything, be producing more numbers than Mertz playing in a bad team. And I just here's my other argument.
Where I think the system is everything.
Josh's point on like the hockey stuff, like the pass before the pass. I would be more receptive to Mertz being that role if he was playing in a position like Ibarra or Etu or Zwetsloot. But for me, Mertz, he's not exactly as high up the field as Griffin, but he's close. And if you're if you're an attacking midfielder, then I don't know, more often than not, I want you to be the pass before the goal, not the
Do you feel that way about Forbes?
Yeah, in some ways, but I feel like in the absence of Dikwa, especially of late, and just, the build up for the first goal, I think he's doing a little more that's closer to like goal opportunities than what Mertz is. And I think that's been okay. But yes, I think that's generally been my critique for Forbes over the majority of the season. Mm-hmm. And just recently I think that's changed a little bit.
I think it's a little harsh. I think I don't have Mertz's full stats in front of me, but when you have Dikwa that has 9 of our goals, and we're, the number 1 team in the East, I think that if Lily's always going to want a little bit more out of his players, but we're doing something right. And so I think this is more a case of the system being built a certain way, and Mertz is sort of playing his role in that system, and the system is being successful, than it is Mertz needing to do it on his own or put up fantastic numbers. So,
at least in the stats that I'm looking at right now, for the USL, he has 1 goal and no assists officially. And so it's not great.
I don't buy that, but okay. I believe you. I believe you.
Yeah, no, it's a Google search. So I'm not looking at USL's official website because it takes forever to load. But yeah,
if it loads,
yeah. Well, guys, after that win, Hounds are sitting number 1 in the East, 26 points. At least the past 5 have been wins. We also have. Kevin needs to go get a charger. We've got 5 wins in a row. Plus, we have 2 wins over MLS teams. So we sit nicely at the top of the table. Charleston are 1 point back now, but they have played 1 more game than we have. So it's interesting that we're 1 point ahead, but we also sort of have that 3-point swing on them, which is great. Tampa and Memphis are both sort of tearing up the East as well. Tampa's only 2 points back. Memphis are 5 points back, but have also won their last 5 as well. Interestingly enough, the USL put out their power rankings this week. And, again, these don't mean anything, but they had Pittsburgh at 5. and they had Tampa and Memphis above us in terms of like power ranking. And I'm like, we literally have won every game in recent memory, including, 2 against MLS teams. What makes you think that we're 5th in terms of power rankings? So I'm just overall bitter at everybody. And the USL does not, they're not absolved of that either. It looks good, Josh. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not only does it look good, but also if you look at the goal differential, like Charleston's goal differential is horrendous right now. I know it's
-4.
yeah, -4, and yet they were in first place. That's just
Yeah.
wild. But yeah, and our goal differential is actually 9, and that's like the
That's tied for the best. Yeah.
in the East. So that's a great thing to see. So between that and the fact that we're on this hot run right now, and that been a pretty compact schedule as of
Yeah.
late. So I granted it's going to be still for a while yet. So we're not going to get that much of a breather, but at least we only have Saturday games coming up for the next like 5. So
Yeah.
that's good. Granted we have to travel, but it's no complaints here.
Agreed.
I do think that it is kind of weird about the power rankings thing,
Yeah.
and I assume it's just based off of hype and stat or individual player hype.
Yep.
And like you said, those don't matter, so who cares?
No, the one announcer during the Battery game actually made a point of like just unprovoked was like he was like I would not want to come here and play. Like if I was any other USL, I don't want to come to Highmark and play because the way that we're playing and the way that Highmark has become a fortress, good luck. So,
Love to hear it.
Yeah, you referenced sort of the upcoming schedule. Here's actually our next 4 games. This weekend we had to play Oakland on the road, which we'll talk about here in a second. But your point, Saturday games from there on out, we have San Diego that's coming to town. We have Louisville that's coming to town. And then we have Sacramento that's coming to town, which Sacramento are the only team at this point that have more points than we do. They're the league leaders in the West. So hopefully that stays true over the next 3 weeks and we can stay atop the East. And then it really becomes sort of a battle of the top teams at Highmark. Which will be interesting because typically I'd be like, Western team coming to play out East may not be familiar. They do have Cicerone and they do have, a former Golden Glove keeper that's between the sticks for them as well. So there will be a lot of familiarity in Pittsburgh on that day, but it will be a good one. Guys, one of the other talking points that came out was that Bob Lilly was named USL Coach of the Month. So, there's, of course, as it should be. Which I say this like it's just a given when, this offseason I was probably leading the charge of like, is this his last year? Like, should he be? My thing all offseason was I would be happy to come on and say that I was wrong. And I think at least at this point was questioning a lot of the players that we were signing. I was wrong. He's gotten it right thus far. And I think that, the numbers show it. So kudos to him for taking home the Coach of the Month honors.
I feel like I don't really remember much talk about Coach of the Month before Lily got it, as far as like in the podcast or like my memory. Is this like not a regular thing for Lily? Like, has he not gotten it? Like, I can't remember him ever having it before, and that feels
I can't either.
Crazy to me that this would be like a big deal that he actually got it. So it's wild.
It's definitely something that's been happening for quite a while now, and it's just every month it's not been Lily, so we just haven't talked about it.
Interesting.
So,
Sus.
Yeah. The other news that came out today, somewhat tangentially related, is that Jake Edwards, the former CEO of USL and USL Championship, USL League One, who left earlier this year, is now the CEO of Huddersfield Town in the Championship in England. So, goes from sort of running the USL to running a championship team in England. So best of luck to you, Mr. Edwards.
Curious, your guys' opinion. Now, is this like a step up, do you feel like? Like, running a whole organization that's not just a league, but like multiple leagues.
Mm-hmm.
But it's in America and it's lower leagues soccer. It's not MLS. Going from that to running a club in the championship feels like at best a lateral move to me. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is a huge deal. I would be curious what the pay difference is in those two situations. And if there is a huge pay difference, why? But yeah, just curious what you guys thought.
Kev?
I was trying to look up as you were saying there. I didn't make it in time. I mean, it's not too long ago that Huddersfield were in the Premier League and like I want to say finishing like 14th or something and doing pretty well. I mean, for their club. So, Josh, I agree with your statement that at least right now, it feels like maybe at best a lateral move. But I wonder if Jake Edwards is looking at potential upsides and sees maybe the upside of being, in the position that he's at Huddersfield. Maybe there's more upside in that career path than the USL. I mean, I don't know what you do. Let's say the USL stays at its current kind of like mind share in the US and steadily grows fan base by 2% a year for the next 10 years and no pro rel gets initiated and nothing like that happens. I think in the long term, there's more upside going to somewhere like Huddersfield. So that could be the way to think about it.
Do you know what changes all of that? The World Cup. Like the World Cup coming to America in a few years could change that 2% equation. I don't disagree with you.
Maybe.
I think what's interesting about this is they're two totally different jobs. Like same title, but running a league is very different from like running a club.
Yeah.
Day-to-day responsibilities are drastically different. So I think if he was able to turn running the USL into running a club, which is what he always wanted to do, and in the next 5 to 10 years, we see Jake Edwards as a CEO of a Premier League team, like that's pretty crazy. Like good on you, man. Like whether it's with, Huddersfield or it's he turns that into a job somewhere else, maybe goes to Spain and, is a CEO there and about like that just seems to be what these guys do.
Or the Saudi League,
The Saudi League, yeah, right?
If he wants money, I guess.
If he wants money, yeah, exactly. So no, I have no beef with Jake Edwards. I don't think we never had Jake on the show. He was on the USL show a few times. Like I had lined that up for him to talk with those guys, but we never got him on here. Seemed like a good guy, always willing to talk to the media. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of little things we can nitpick about, but for the most part, you look at his tenure here and the expansion of the league, the stability of the league, the addition of League One, you can't complain with what he did. The USL is largely what it is today because he was here. So.
Do you guys know like how long he was in the position that he was at?
I'm not even sure. I mean, I don't want to say as far back as I can remember, but definitely most of that time.
I want to say like 5 or 6 years, but I'm totally just making that up.
Yeah. I'm sure, Kevin, you're looking up as we speak. But I will say, anytime we talk about Jake Edwards, homework. I will say, with Jake Edwards, the biggest thing that I think all of USL fans are thinking is like, is his vision of what he wanted this league to be still going to be the vision for it with pro rel between the USL only and that kind of stuff. It'll be interesting. It's a little bit off the topic of Huddersfield, but it's like, is that still going to be the case?
So quickly, the answer to that. So he first joined the USL in 2013 as the executive vice president before being named the president in 2015.
That makes sense because I started following.
So like he's been the president for 8 years. Yeah. Wow. Good on him. So yeah, that's some news there, guys. Latest on Pick'em because we had 2 games this week. Mikey got 2 scores right, and now he's in the top 3. Kevin's still leading with 16. I was really ticked, Kev, when I saw that you picked this game to be 2-0. I was like, I'm the only one that got it right. Like, it's over. And then I was like, of course, Kevin picked 2-0 as well. Kevin's at the top with 16. Laura Ellen has 14. I have 13. But of course, we can't win this thing. So Devin Pale is in pole position to win 2 free season tickets for the Hounds next year with 12 points. Keith Lehman-Good with 11 and Michael Finn with 11. We have a whole bunch of people with 10 points right behind. So this feels like it's going to come down to the wire. But again, it's not too late to play because literally I was off the board until this week and just happened to get 2 score predictions right and sort of jumped up in the third. So if you're interested, make sure you head over, you follow us either on Twitter or YouTube. You don't have to be on Twitter if you don't want to be on Twitter. But before every single game, we put out a post where you just go and leave a comment with your score prediction. You get 3 points if you get the score dead right, 1 point if you pick the right result. So win, loss, draw, 0 points otherwise. Whoever has the most points at the end of the season, assuming that you're a Mongol supporter, $10 a year, you get 2 free season tickets to the Hounds next year, which the way they're playing could be one of the hottest tickets in town.
I don't think it's anything that us 3 at the top are like better at this than anyone else. I think it was just like we like probably show up and answer every week. And so that I'm guessing some other people further down, it's like, crap, I forgot to put something in this week. We just make a guess every week. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but
you're pretty much right. Let's talk about this upcoming game, guys. I mentioned already here. I'll throw the schedule back up on the screen real quick. So we've got Oakland this weekend. We travel to Oakland. The next 3 games are going to be at home. So Josh, your Summer of Hounds is in full swing. Oakland is currently 5th in the West. Then we play San Diego, who is 4th in the West. Then we play Louisville, who is 5th in the East. And then Sacramento is the last team. They are currently top in the league on 29 points to our 26 points. So this is going to be quite the stretch. Guys, I'm going to put you on the spot here before we talk about Oakland. 4 games. I will set the over-under at oh, man. I was going to say 8 points. That feels too low to me, but I'll set it at 8. Josh, are you going to take the over or the under of 8 points over these 4 games?
I mean, Hounds at home seems like a sure thing at this point, but it's going to be Louisville and Sacramento. So,
yeah.
But Louisville's not that great this year, right?
No, Louisville's had some struggles. Yeah, they're in 5th right now.
I'll take the over.
This is amazing.
Sorry, taking the over.
No, yeah, it's all good. Yeah, I'm taking the over.
Josh, Kev, what are you taking?
I would have said 8 points from these games before you said anything. And if you're making me fall on either side of the fence, I'll take the under, actually. But yeah.
Oof. I know you can't just keep winning forever. Like that's a great mindset to have, but at some point it does feel like we're going to drop points. I'll take the over on this. I think it'll be tight going into the Sacramento game, and then that game is going to be quite entertaining. So, yeah, let us know what you think about that. But guys, it all starts with Oakland. Oakland are kind of all over the place as a team. They lost to Hartford and Loudoun, but then they turned around and beat Indy and Birmingham. So who knows? Speaking of Birmingham, just to throw this back up on the screen, I'm like, Birmingham's a really good team. They've literally lost their last 5. So like, I don't know what happened there. This past weekend, Oakland drew 2-2 with Phoenix, who we beat 1-0 last weekend. So just to give you some comparison, there are no former Hounds on the team. We always try to take a look at that and see, is anybody going to come and score on us like a former Hound? Not the case. We have scored the same number of goals this season. We both have 20, and they have 1 more shutout than we do. So if you're trying to like gauge, like, do they score a lot? Do they defend a lot? It's kind of mirror teams here at this point. But they have faced twice as many shots as we have, 58 to our 30, which basically means that their defense is letting almost twice as many shots through. So
yeah, but I wouldn't say we're particularly clinical either. But
no, exactly right. Yeah, we're not clinical in front of the net. But if we're getting twice as many shots, does that bode in our favor? They've completed 1,000 more passes than us, and they have a passing accuracy that's 81% to our 73. They are 3-1-1 at home this season. They have 3 wins and a draw and a loss in the last 5 games. So I think if you were just purely looking at standings, you're like, oh, they're the 5th place team in the West. We're the number 1 place team in the East. Like, we should go and we should get some points off them and it should be fine. But when you actually start looking at the stats and breaking it down, you realize that numerically we're relatively similar, and they've also played 1 less game than we have. So this could be a tricky one. I think we're sort of looking ahead and seeing Louisville and Sacramento and sort of salivating over that. But we got to get through Oakland first, and this is no gimme.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tricky game. I mean, we look at like overall wins on the season and how they look home and away and blah, blah, blah. Our form is really good of late, obviously. Theirs isn't bad either, though. I mean, so they've been in pretty decent form lately. So, and it's an away game. At some point, the Dequa injury might catch up to us. I mean, yes, we're finding goals elsewhere, but I checked the USL official stat site, and Ordonez is still our 2nd leading goal scorer with 3. So, I think this could be a tricky game.
So, what do we think? Score prediction wise, let's put it all out there. Josh, I'm going to pick on you first.
Yeah, I figured you were going to do that. So, kind of echoing what Kevin said as far as this is going to be a tricky game. It's California. That's a big travel game.
Might as well be Malaysia. That's what I say. Yeah.
So you sound like you're in Malaysia from how far away you're sitting from your mic right now, Kev.
Might as well be Malaysia.
NPR style. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is. I'm not saying a loss, but I am going to say a draw. And I also don't think we're going to have weight for this one. Like, I don't know if we know that for sure yet, but I think that's when Gold Cup stuff starts.
Yeah. He has been playing well.
And like not having him, like that worries me. Like, I'm gonna say 1-1.
I was gonna go 0-0 because I forgot about the whole weight thing.
Yeah,
I'm with you. I'm gonna say 1-1. Kev.
I mean, I don't want to say 1-1 now, but
you're gonna say Hounds loss. We already saw it coming.
No. I think it's more likely that we draw than we lose. I think it's more likely that we lose than we win. But I'll say, just to be different, I'll say 2-2. I don't know where our goals are coming from, but
Tula. It's gonna be Tula time. It's
Tula's gonna get a hat trick in this one. So, yep. And if I'm wrong and it's 1-1, then I'm right both ways. So I don't really care. That's what we think. Let us know what you think.
I don't know. Quick question. Do you think Tula starts in this game?
I would start him. Honestly, I mean, Kizza has 2 goals on the season, and they both came in the same game. The assist this weekend was great, but I feel like Tola offers you a little bit more up top. I just feel like making Kizza the lone striker, that's not his strength. I think he has to be playing with somebody else. And so in that regard, you can't just swap him like for Dequa. If you have too many players honing in on him, he's not going to get it done. He's more of a sneaky backdoor get there kind of player, whereas Tola, I think, can do the hold up play and draw more players into the game with him.
I would say start him because he is riding on a high right now. And if you want to build that, you have to give him the minutes. Granted that he could be subbed in like he was for this game, this previous game, but start him and see if he can, keep that building.
I see what you mean, Josh, by the recent form of him, but I will say, at least in recent memory, he's only started against Phoenix and Columbus. Otherwise, he's never started a game. So, we'll see.
Dequa has not been injured all those games, though.
Yeah.
Well, as I was saying, that's what we think. Let us know what you think. Head over to YouTube, get your comments in terms of the score predictions. Those typically go up Friday morning, like 6 a.m. So you can go get your score predictions in, get involved, be part of Pick'em. It's been fun all season. This was something new that we were doing, and I think the fact that there's actually tickets on the line, which might be really hard to get, it just makes this a little more interesting. So yeah, good stuff, guys. Anything else that you wanted to talk about in this one?
I'll kind of repeat what I said last week. I still think this is probably one of the best times ever to be a Hounds fan.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And yeah, it continues after the Charleston win. So yeah.
I was just gonna remind people that the Pride Raiser for the Steel Army is still going on. So you can just go to prideraiser.org and search for Steel Army, or just Google Pride Raiser Steel Army and it shows up right away. But yeah, I think we are now at I'm not even sure what we're at, but we're doing good. I know that much. I think it's at like 200 per goal at this point. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, make that higher, and just remember how many games we have. We have a lot. Yeah, we're at $216 per goal, and so far we have 4 goals. So 864 raised so far.
That's awesome. Awesome. All right, gentlemen. I think that's it. So thanks, everybody. We will talk to you very, very soon.
Cheers.
Later.